I'm gonna make a Sims 3 world today in Create a World, and I was just fighting with terrain the whole time, but this is my inspiration, which is hilly, scenic, federal architecture world, and I end up scrapping it completely. So for attempt 1, I had already generated the terrain in World Machine, which is a software that generates terrain that I then took into Create a World. Anyway, so this is where I am finding where the sunrise and sunset are, just so I could create a more scenic area. So like usually you'd want to put a beach or something there so that you could see the sunrise and the sunset. So this is me creating coastlines. I like to have beaches, and I'm closing off some of these lakes and stuff. Lots of smoothing going on. More beaches in a second. And I'm next going to see if this river would look good connecting it, but it really didn't, so I end up closing it. Then I'm taking down all of these hills because they're too steep. Just seeing how it looks. Next, in World Machine, I am creating another height map that I can use because I didn't like the first one because it was too hilly and too dramatic. So I am making sure that I'm making something a little more natural as an island. So here it is, attempt number 2. So I'm taking around what I am making the island and taking away all of the edges, because you don't want like a weird unnatural square in the middle of the ocean. It looks weird. It doesn't look right. So then I'm smoothing everything out again, making more coasts because I love beaches. Beaches are easy to work with and build on. Not that I use it in game very often, but I guess other people do. Here I wanted to rotate the map, so I used Photo P, which is like a Photoshop alternative, and I wanted to rotate it so that the sunset and sunrise would be on the beaches, but that didn't turn out very well. It totally corrupted the terrain, so I decided to look at how it looks in sunset and sunrise, and I said, it's fine. So I was going along with it, creating the roads, just to see what kind of layout I could do, just like around all the hills. And I was cool with it. It was coming out really nice. I decided to add sand texture so I can see at least a little bit how the beaches would look. Then I decided to carve the town hall city center, and this is the inspiration for City Hall. And then the park that I want, the step down park that I wanted in front of it. So I carved out in the hill an area for City Hall, because for rabbit holes you need it to be flat. So I did that, and there was a lot of smoothing and a lot of going back and forth on it. Then I created some roads in between the park where I wanted the park to be and the City Hall. I smoothed out the road because I wanted to look like the picture. So I knew I needed an incline to happen, but it turns out that this incline was a little too steep, and you will see why as soon as I go back in game to show you. So as I'm smoothing, I decided to terrace the park so that it wasn't so big of a incline. And then I create the park, and then we'll see it in game. So I decided to put the City Hall a little bit closer to the front of the lot, and I decided I didn't need that big of a lot. And oh my goodness, this is my attempt at trying to make a step down, staired park. And do you see how steep it is? It is like ridiculously steep, and there's no way that it looks real and that any Sims are going to want to walk down there at all. So that attempt was null and void, because just look at that. It looks crazy. Okay, and then as a last resort, I'm like, what does it look like on this hill if I put foundation? And it was a big no. So I quit that. And then I started attempt 3. Okay, so attempt 3. I went back to World Machine and I decided, let's just play with it. Let's see what comes up. I still really want the hills. I want the scenic view. Then I took these like squares and I made it like water, like to make it an island. So that's what came up. And then I added like a polygon, I guess you can call it, just so that there's some flat areas. And I raised it up. I brought it back into Create a World, and I decided it needed more beaches. So I did coastal erosion so that it would look more natural, the natural beaches, because I love beaches. Then I just started smoothing it out again because it was looking like alien terrain. Looked really crazy. Smoothing. And then I had to take the excess terrain out from the edges. Here is me doing the beaches again, just to get an idea of what it will look like. And with terrain paint. And attempt number, goodness knows what number, of park and City Hall. So I made the City Hall a lot shorter, smaller, and then I tried with this park. Here is me with trying to do the roads. And this is what I ended up with. Some crazy looking park. I really tried. I really did, but it was just cuckoo. So in my final attempt, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to do a distant terrain because I'm tired of islands in the middle of the ocean. So I had to put up the edges of the active world so that it would not have seams that you could see. And that's it. And this world is now called Dusty Bay, named after the distant terrain by Chodrak. So stay tuned, because in the next videos, I'm finally going to start actually building the town itself, because it was just too complicated before. But look at it now. It looks great.